You can see various instances of this with the FBI claim that the FBI never said that Thomas Crooks had no online footprint.
We've seen nothing. Nothing. We're now 6 weeks in. There's not a Facebook photo. You know, it's incredible. We know every single thing about these shooting incidents when there's a political narrative to be had by the media and the other side. We do. You know who their high school girlfriend was. Sadly, you know everything about these people. We know nothing about this guy.
The FBI made a new Twitter account. Always going to be just entertainment when you hear a sentence like that. FBI Rapid Response created in November of 2025. So this is their new Twitter account. And they created this Twitter account for the explicit purpose, I guess, of trying to combat the quote unquote conspiracy theories that are gaining steam against the FBI. Because if you know anything about history, the FBI has never lied. That the conspiracy theorists who've questioned FBI official narratives about anything ranging from COVID to Malcolm X to MLK to JFK to RFK, they've all been debunked thoroughly, and the FBI has given us the whole truth and nothing but the truth every step of the way, right? Well, Tucker Carlson, he simply put out a question, that sparked the FBI, Kash Patel, to take a break from his 7-Eleven Slurpees and come out and open this Twitter account. And that tweet that Tucker put out was this right here. Tucker said, "The FBI told us Thomas Crooks tried to kill Donald Trump last summer, but somehow had no online footprint. The FBI lied, and we can prove it because we have his posts. The question is why?" Now, there's a lot to unpack there. Tucker did a first episode in a series of episodes, I believe he's doing on Thomas Crook regarding this matter. But the funniest part of all is the FBI, so they made this Twitter account to specifically respond to Tucker, and they got mogged by the Grok AI fact checker, the the community notes. FBI has never said Thomas Crook had no online footprint, ever. Or should I say, "Excuse me, sir, the FBI has never said that Thomas Crooks had no online footprint, never said my girlfriend is brave country singer sensation, $5 million, Elijah Schaffer, send it over." In a July 30th, 2024 Senate hearing, FBI Deputy Director Paul Abbott disclosed a social media account believed to be associated with the shooter. But Abbott went on to describe a general absence of other information to date from social media. Now, the interesting thing about this right here is that the quote unquote social media account that was believed to have been associated with Thomas Crooks, Abbott, the FBI deputy director at the time under Biden, he described this as indication that Thomas Crooks was a right winger, a conservative, a Republican. But actually, what's really interesting, if you look at Thomas Crooks, is that for his entire online career, this kid, from the posts that we have going years and years and years back, he was explicitly supportive of Trump. He was radical in his support of Trump, like really radical. And then out of nowhere, like almost as if there was some chemical inducing change in his brain, almost as if, there was some sort of a mind control placed on Thomas Crook. I'm not saying that that's the case. I would never say that's the case because only a conspiracy theorist would say something like that. But as if there was some sort of mind altering drug that was injected into his system, magically, overnight, Thomas Crook's posts began to become vehemently anti-Trump. Vehemently anti-Trump. Just as radical as he was in his, violent rhetoric in support of Trump, he flipped overnight and became vehemently anti-Trump. Very weird. Very weird. And of course, that leads us to what eventually did happen, which is the attempted assassination attempt at Butler, Pennsylvania, the rally that Trump was shot in the ear at. Now, The FBI deputy director did not mention this. The FBI did not give us any of this information. This information was given to Tucker Carlson, and the full, comment log, all this stuff was given to Tucker Carlson by, I believe it was like a journalist or a whistleblower. But why did they hide that? Why did they hide the fact that this kid was like so pro-Trump and then overnight magically became like the most anti-Trump, rabidly anti-Trump person on the internet, contradicting many of his old posts and his old beliefs, actually all of them? Why did they hide that? Why did YouTube immediately, delete all his old comments, delete all his old posts? Why is it that 13 days, if I'm not mistaken, 13 days after this all happened, the body of Thomas Crooks was cremated? It was incinerated, so as to ensure that no one could do any sort of chemical forensics tests on the body of Thomas Crook to see whether or not he may have been on drugs or maybe some sort of a chemical alteration in his bloodstream. I don't know. Maybe these are things worth looking into. But anyways, this was obviously debunked. You can see various instances of this with the FBI claim that the FBI never said that Thomas Crooks had no online footprint.
And importantly, that his digital footprint is completely MIA. And importantly, that his digital footprint is completely MIA. That his digital footprint is missing. And that how can a 20-year-old in today's time have no digital footprint? So do you have any thoughts on that? Any comments on that? And that'll be my last question. Well, 4 years of doing protective intelligence investigations with the Secret Service interviewed probably hundreds of people who have credibly threatened our protectees. I've never seen anything like it. If you would have told me it was a 60-year-old guy who had lived most of his life without a computer and for the last 10 years had been planning this, hard to believe but digestible. You're telling me a 20-year-old kid who's grown up in the digital era figured this out when he was, 13? To never get an online presence? We've seen nothing. Nothing. We're now 6 weeks in. There's not a Facebook photo. It's incredible. We know every single thing about these shooting incidents when there's a political narrative to be had by the media and the other side. We do. You know who their high school girlfriend was. Sadly, you know everything about these people. We know nothing about this guy. And sophisticated explosives, we have this massive law enforcement bureaucracy. No one's got him with an online search history at a library saying, how do I build this? He's 20 years old. It just defies logic.
So that was current deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, who has me blocked on Twitter, by the way. Yeah. So after, the FBI rapid response Twitter account made their account, they put that tweet out, and they got just simply fact checked as a result of their own prior statements from Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino. There it is. D. Bongino has blocked you. You know what's funny about that? He had previously, I believe, retweeted me or responded to two of my posts when I was primarily talking about Ukraine. But as soon as I started talking about Israel, what happened? Blocked. Put two and two together, maybe you'll understand what's going on here. But anyways, the FBI seems very, very interested in trying to cover up what really happened with Thomas Crooks. And there actually is a lot of indication that Thomas Crooks was looking into planning this. His online search history has been in part made public thanks to this video from Tucker Carlson. And he was looking up people like Jack Ruby. He was looking up school shooters. He was looking up how do I do this, that, and the third when it comes to doing something like what we saw at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally, which has led Tucker Carlson and many other things has led Tucker Carlson to ask these questions to the FBI in an open letter format saying, we deserve answers for this. Why are you guys trying to cover up the truth? Take a listen.
All of it makes you wonder, what are they hiding? If the leadership of the FBI and the DOJ had any desire whatsoever to prove to the public that there's in fact nothing there, they could do that. But first they would have to answer these questions. Was Thomas Crooks known to federal law enforcement before the shooting? Was he known to local law enforcement before the shooting? And if not, why not? Who is Willie Tepes? And was he known to federal law enforcement?
Willie Tepes, by the way, if you haven't watched this full video, is another person that Thomas Crooks was clearly in contact with and kept close contact with prior to the assassination attempt, but after Thomas Crooks had abandoned his pro-Trump sympathies and had magically overnight become the most vociferously anti-Trump person on the internet. And, Tepes is, I guess, a member, allegedly, of, his name is tied to some Nordic Antifa organization, which was registered as a terrorist organization by the U.S. federal government. So make of that what you will. And the U.S. government was monitoring this group. This Tepes person, William Tepes, was provoking Thomas Crooks, saying things to him like, oh, you should do this. You should take action. You should show these people that you really mean business. He was trying to poke and, I guess, prod at Thomas Crooks to take his words and put it into action.
Is Willie Tepes linked to any violent organizations? Is he linked to any governments? And if so, then around the time of the shooting, did the FBI have assets inside those organizations?
Someone in the chat said, yeah, that guy definitely never existed. Exactly. Willie Tepes, he's a member of this group, but does he actually exist? No. I would imagine there's probably like 50 people who are logged into that Willie Tepes account as they were typing all these things to Thomas Crooks.
If Crooks wasn't known to anyone in authority before the shooting, how was he able to post hundreds of violent extremist comments under his real name between 2019 and 2020 without being detected by law enforcement or intel agencies at a time we know they were monitoring social media?
Isn't that crazy? Like, they will ban people who stand with Palestine or who stand with Russia. Even if you have like a few hundred followers, they'll find your account, they'll ban you. But this Thomas Crooks was posting all these violent threats against the former president of the United States. And magically, his account was untouched. Magically, nothing happened. Magically, no one was investigating this. Find that hard to believe.
Were those comments, including specific assassination threats against specific public officials, ever reported to YouTube? Other users complained about them. Did YouTube know? Why is the FBI telling us that they'll release this information, quote, after the trial, when there is no trial?
That's one other weird thing that we've seen. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino keep saying, oh yeah, we'll answer the media's questions. We'll answer the press's questions about Thomas Crooks after the trial. There's a pending court trial, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, there isn't. Thomas Crooks is dead. His body was cremated 13 days after this all happened. And there's no court trials. So they keep saying we'll answer questions after the court trial. What court trial?
Why did an FBI agent from the Technical Hazards Response Unit hose down the crime scene the day after the attack? That seems very strange. What happened?
Tucker also goes into more detail in this video discussing the fact that
Flex one more time, daddy.
Someone's always got to make it gay. Anyways, Tucker Carlson also discusses in this video that the FBI usually contracts these sorts of services, like cleaning up a violent crime scene, to third-party private companies. But for this one, they had like some FBI hazardous waste sector of the organization come out and clean it up themselves. And all of the FBI people that Tucker spoke to said, yeah, that's very uncommon. That's very weird and unusual.
Happened on the roof of the American Glass Research Building for the 10 seconds after Crooks's last shot until he was killed by the Secret Service. Does the FBI have surveillance footage of Thomas Crooks shooting that day? Was the FBI present at the medical examiner's autopsy? Are there still blood samples? Can they be examined by outside authorities? When Congress demanded the autopsy, did the FBI restrict what the examiner could tell the Congress? When the FBI cleared the coroner to release Crooks's body for cremation, did they keep tissue samples, brain tissue samples, spinal cord samples, or spinal fluid samples? Law enforcement sources told us that in a typical investigation in a crime of this nature, it would be normal to preserve all of that, those samples. If the FBI didn't, why not?
You are asking very unusual questions, Tucker. Please stop with these weird questions.
Who made that decision to destroy what could be critical evidence in an attempted murder case? FBI agents went to the same gun range that Thomas Crooks was using. Who were those agents, and did any
FBI agents were going to the same gun range that Thomas Crooks was trained. Case closed, folks. What is this? We literally live in a psyop. It's like the fingerprints are everywhere. It's so obvious that it makes me literally believe that they want us to find out.
any of them at any time have any contact with Thomas Crooks?
Like they want us to find out and be like, yeah, don't step out of line. You saw what we did here.
Who did he train with exactly, and why can't we know? Was Thomas Crooks taking drugs that might have turned up on the toxicology report, but that weren't listed somehow? On what date specifically did FBI agents stop investigating Thomas Crooks' online presence? Why did the former deputy director of the FBI, Paul Abate, suggest to Congress that Crooks was a right-winger when he clearly wasn't? Was the FBI aware of Crooks' public comments before the shooting, many of which are openly violent, that included specific assassination attempts involving public officials? Who was Thomas Crooks in communication with in the days before the attack? What does his burner phone show? And in fact, why did he have a burner phone and encrypted foreign email accounts? Who are the government officials trying to link Iran to the shooting? Why did the FBI suggest that he had no digital footprint in the first place when the FBI had a great deal of evidence, hundreds and hundreds of comments from his digital activity? And what's on the other dozen accounts that the FBI clearly had access to? How long had Thomas Crooks been planning to commit an assassination? If there's nothing there, if they tell you this is just a lone nut who gave no indication he might do this, then what is stopping the FBI from at least giving the facts to Congress?
We gave you all of the facts, Tucker. Stop asking the question. You know what's crazy? The FBI today, I guess they released some information. I'll end this story here. They released some information indicating that Thomas Crooks was he loved transgender people, and he was interested in transgender and furries online. And well, you know, case closed, folks. So I guess the deputy director of the FBI, he said he was a right winger, but he's also loves furries and transgenders. And, you know, this is just, it's a clear open and shut case. You know, this is left versus right. There's nothing suspicious to look at here. Same with Charlie Kirk, you know, nothing suspicious. This is the left versus the right. It's leftist violence, liberal violence. There's nothing to look at. It's very clear what's going on. You know, Trump said offensive things, presumably about furries or transgenders at some point in his life. And that is what we can, I guess, use to justify the thought process of Thomas Crooks being so opposed to this administration and why he did this horrible thing. You know, don't look any further than that. We have all the answers. Stop watching Tucker Carlson. 1.5 million views on a video 3 days ago about this, but stop watching Tucker Carlson. Stop asking questions, please. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.